Acceptance is often misunderstood as a sign of weakness, a passive surrender to circumstances or people. In reality, true acceptance is one of the most profound demonstrations of inner strength and resilience. It's the ability to confront challenges, face difficult people, and navigate uncertain situations without allowing them to disrupt your inner peace. Deep down, this kind of acceptance doesn't mean you agree with or condone what's happening. Rather, it shows that you recognize the reality of the situation and choose not to be dominated by it. When people expect a reaction, whether anger, frustration, or defensiveness, they are prepared to feed off your emotions. They might be looking for a fight, a justification for their actions, or simply a confirmation that they have succeeded in provoking you. However, when you respond with acceptance, their expectations collapse. This unexpected calmness often leaves them feeling disoriented, unsure of how to proceed. They anticipated resistance and were ready for conflict, but acceptance leaves no fuel for their fire. True acceptance requires courage because it means stepping outside the realm of instinctive reactions. The human brain is wired to respond to challenges with fight or flight. Acceptance goes beyond these primal responses. It requires a conscious effort to stay present and composed. It's easier to lash out or defend yourself, but it takes strength to pause, assess the situation, and decide to rise above it. By choosing acceptance, you signal to yourself and others that you are in control, not the circumstances or the emotions they evoke. Acceptance also creates a powerful sense of calm, not only within yourself, but in the space around you. This calmness can be unsettling for those who expected you to react emotionally. It's as if you've turned the tide of energy in your favor. While they may have entered the situation prepared to escalate tension, your acceptance disrupts their plans and forces them to reconsider their approach. This calm is not a void, it's a presence. One that communicates strength, clarity, and self-assuredness without needing words. In relationships, whether personal or professional, acceptance can transform dynamics. Consider a scenario where someone criticizes you unjustly. Their criticism might be intended to provoke a defense or counter-criticism, creating a cycle of negativity. But when you accept their words calmly, without resistance or retaliation, you shift the dynamic entirely. They may start questioning the validity of their own behavior. This is because acceptance reflects confidence. It shows that you are so secure in who you are that their words hold no power over you. It's a subtle but profound way of reclaiming control. Simply stated, it means to leave the struggle for the win. The power of acceptance becomes even more evident in high-stakes situations. Imagine being in a meeting where someone challenges your ideas, not constructively, but with an intent to undermine you. Many would feel the urge to defend themselves passionately or even retaliate. But when you choose to listen, nod, and acknowledge their perspective without letting it rattle you, you project a sense of unshakable composure. Then you become the same as the object of their attack. The more that you are rattled by disappointment, the more easy it is. It's not about agreeing with them. It's about demonstrating that you're not threatened by their challenge. Acceptance also allows for clearer thinking. When you react impulsively to a situation, your emotions can cloud your judgment. Anger, frustration, and fear are powerful emotions that often lead to decisions we later regret. But acceptance creates a space between the event and your reaction. In that space, you have the opportunity to observe, analyze, and respond thoughtfully. This clarity gives you an edge, as you're no longer at the mercy of fleeting emotions or external provocations. Instead, you become the architect of your response, choosing actions that align with your long-term goals and values. People who practice acceptance often find themselves growing stronger over time, not weaker. This is because acceptance is not passive. It's an active choice to face reality as it is rather than as we wish it to be. It's about taking responsibility for your internal state, even when external circumstances are beyond your control. This kind of empowerment is rare, and it confounds those who rely on manipulation or aggression to achieve their goals. One of the most surprising effects of acceptance is the respect it garners. While some may initially interpret it as indifference or lack of engagement, they soon realize that acceptance requires a level of mastery they themselves may not possess. They begin to see you as someone who cannot be easily swayed or destabilized, someone who operates from a place of strength and self-awareness. This respect often leads to deeper trust and better relationships, as people feel safe in the presence of someone who is steady and reliable. Acceptance also has a ripple effect. When you practice it, others around you begin to notice and often mirror your behavior. In a tense situation, your calmness can help de-escalate conflict and create an atmosphere of understanding. This doesn't mean that you'll always agree or that the situation will resolve perfectly, but it does mean that you've contributed to a more constructive outcome. And in doing so, you've demonstrated leadership, the kind that inspires others to think differently and act with greater integrity. When you consistently practice acceptance, you develop a resilience that others can't help but admire. You no longer see challenges as threats, but as opportunities to grow stronger and wiser. This shift in perspective is liberating. It frees you from the need to control others or force situations to go your way. Instead, you focus on controlling what truly matters: your own mind and heart. When you choose to accept a situation or a person's behavior, it creates a dynamic shift that many people don't expect. Typically, people operate under the assumption that others will react to a challenge, to criticism, or to provocation with resistance. It's a deeply ingrained belief that when someone feels wronged or attacked, they will instinctively push back, and this resistance often fuels the cycle of negativity. However, when you break this predictable pattern and instead respond with acceptance, you transform the situation completely. This shift doesn't just change the interaction in the moment. It has the power to reshape the narrative that follows, creating an environment of curiosity rather than conflict. When someone expects a fight, they are mentally prepared to engage in a back and forth exchange, perhaps escalating the situation even further. They may have their arguments lined up, ready to justify their actions or challenge your position. This expectation is rooted in the belief that conflict is inevitable, that the only way to move forward is through resistance. But when you choose to accept the situation as it is, without defensiveness or hostility, you undermine this expectation. The reaction that they anticipated is absent, and in its place is an acceptance that seems almost foreign. to them. This unexpected response often prompts confusion, which can be incredibly powerful. People are no longer sure how to proceed. They've expected a reaction, a defense, or a counterattack, and when they receive none, they are left questioning their own motives, their own behavior, and their approach to the interaction. This confusion works to your advantage. It shifts the balance of power. Instead of feeling the need to explain yourself or prove something, you are free to simply be. And in that freedom, you create space for curiosity to enter the picture. Curiosity is a far more constructive emotion than defensiveness or anger. It opens the door to dialogue, understanding, and reflection. When someone is curious, they seek to understand your perspective rather than challenge it. By responding with acceptance, you force them to step back and reconsider their actions. Instead of them focusing on defending their stance or pushing you into a corner, they begin to look inward. They wonder why you are not reacting as they expected. They begin to analyze the situation from a new angle. And this shift in focus can lead to personal growth for both parties involved. This confusion also disrupts the usual dynamics of power struggles. Power struggles often arise from the need to assert dominance or establish control over a situation. However, when you respond with acceptance, you stop playing the game of control. You show that you are not interested in winning at the expense of the other person or situation. You are simply interested in maintaining your peace, in staying grounded, and in choosing how you respond. In doing so, you take away the power that the other person thought they had over you. They may have believed that by provoking you, they would push your buttons or force a reaction, but instead, their actions fall flat. They find themselves without the leverage they expected to have. At this point, their need to be in control begins to diminish. The more you accept, the less their attempts at manipulation or provocation seem effective. Their strategies, whether they're aware of them or not, lose their power because you no longer engage in the battle. This can be particularly effective in situations where people attempt to belittle or undermine you. They may make a sharp comment or a critical remark, expecting you to defend yourself or retaliate. But by simply accepting what they say and not reacting, you create an atmosphere where their words no longer hold weight. Their criticism fades into the background, no longer able to penetrate your sense of self-worth or confidence. Furthermore, this approach doesn't just affect the person who is directly interacting with you. It can create a ripple effect on those around you. When others observe your calm acceptance, it often triggers a change in their behavior as well. They may begin to see that their own attempts at provocation or conflict aren't necessary. They see that it is possible to navigate situations with grace and dignity without engaging in petty arguments or negative cycles. How? This can encourage a more positive, constructive atmosphere where people are less inclined to escalate tensions and more likely to approach challenges with a mindset of resolution rather than confrontation. The confusion that arises from your acceptance can also create opportunities for deeper connection. In relationships, both personal and professional, people often find themselves locked into patterns of miscommunication, misunderstanding, and emotional defense. But when you break the cycle with acceptance, you open the door for true communication. People begin to feel heard and understood because they no longer have to fight to be acknowledged. The conversation shifts from a battle of wills to an exchange of perspectives, where both sides are allowed to express themselves freely without fear of attack or retaliation. This kind of communication fosters trust and intimacy. Additionally, acceptance in the face of conflict is a powerful signal of emotional maturity. When you accept a situation or person without resorting to defensive mechanisms, you demonstrate that you are not ruled by your emotions. You are capable of processing challenges with a clear mind, and that clarity becomes contagious. It's easy to become entangled in a web of emotions when things go wrong. Things start to fall apart on you when things go wrong. It's easy to allow frustration or anger to dictate your actions. But true strength lies in the ability to step outside of those emotions and act from a place of understanding. By choosing acceptance, you communicate that you are not swayed by the moment, but are instead guided by a deeper sense of inner peace and emotional intelligence. Secondly, this confusion that you create with acceptance not only benefits you in the moment, but also has long-term effects. People begin to respect you for your ability to stay grounded, no matter the external circumstances. They see that you are not easily manipulated or swayed by external forces. And they begin to treat you with a level of regard that acknowledges your strength. In this way, your acceptance becomes a cornerstone of your personal power, a tool that enables you to navigate life's challenges with grace and wisdom. When you respond to situations with acceptance, you create an environment of unexpected calm, not only within yourself, but also in the atmosphere around you. People tend to expect a response when they engage with you, whether it's an argument, a disagreement, or some form of emotional reaction. This is the natural human expectation. When someone challenges you, they anticipate a counter-argument, an emotional retort, or at the very least, a sign that you are rattled by their words or actions. However, when you meet that challenge with a calm, composed acceptance, you disrupt their anticipated outcome. It's as if you've introduced a new element into the equation, one they didn't foresee, and it changes the course of the interaction. That is empathy. This unexpected calmness can be deeply unsettling for those around you, particularly when they were expecting to provoke a reaction. When people can't read you, when they can't predict your response, they often become unsure of how to proceed. This uncertainty is not a weakness on your part, it's a power. Your acceptance leaves them without the leverage they assumed they would have. They might become uncomfortable with the fact that they are no longer able to provoke you, and this discomfort often works to your advantage. By accepting the situation as it is, without resistance, you have taken away the emotional charge from the situation. You are no longer playing by their rules. And this shift in the energy of the interaction can often leave them perplexed, wondering how to regain control. This type of calmness doesn't come from indifference or a lack of concern. It comes from a deep understanding that you cannot control what others do, but you can control how you respond to it. When you accept a situation, you are not passive or complacent. You are actively choosing peace over chaos. You are choosing to preserve your sense of self, your peace of mind, and your clarity of thought over engaging in unnecessary emotional upheaval. This clarity becomes an inner fortress that cannot be easily breached by external circumstances. People can throw their harsh words, their criticisms, or their provocations at you, but when you accept these things without reacting emotionally, you build a space around yourself that is unshakable. This creates a ripple effect. The calmness you exude in the face of chaos encourages others to do the same. It challenges them to think before reacting, to pause and reflect rather than jumping into emotional turmoil. What happens when you choose calmness over confrontation is that you not only preserve your inner peace, but you also begin to set the tone for those around you. In tense situations, your calm demeanor becomes an anchor, a point of stability in a sea of emotions. Instead of matching the intensity of the situation with a heightened emotional response, you counterbalance the energy around you. This subtle shift can influence the dynamics of an entire conversation or situation. People who were initially aggressive or confrontational may begin to soften when they see that their attempts to escalate are met with peaceful acceptance. It's as if they can no longer maintain their aggression because the energy they were hoping to provoke is simply not there. This calmness doesn't necessarily mean silence, but it does often require silence, an inner silence, a stillness that allows you to process the situation without being overwhelmed by it. Silence is a powerful tool because it creates space for reflection. When you choose to stay calm and accept, you give yourself the opportunity to respond with intention rather than reacting impulsively. Impulsive reactions are often driven by emotional triggers, fear, anger, frustration. But when you step back and create space, you can assess the situation with a clearer perspective. You can decide if it's worth engaging with or if it's best to let the moment pass without further escalation. The effect of your calmness can be particularly noticeable in emotionally charged environments. For instance, in a heated discussion or argument, when people are looking for someone to take sides or to defend a position, your acceptance can serve as a grounding force. By not engaging in the emotional drama of the moment, you allow the conversation to shift away from conflict. People begin to see that their efforts to provoke or create tension are in vain. But they start questioning why you remain so composed and begin to realize that perhaps the issue they were so worked up about isn't worth the emotional investment. Moreover, this calmness shows that you are in control of your emotional state. The ability to remain calm under pressure is one of the most profound demonstrations of strength because it proves that you do not need to be in constant emotional upheaval to assert your power. People respect this kind of emotional control because it shows maturity, wisdom, and a deep sense of self-awareness. They see that you are not easily swayed by external events. They see that you are not easily swayed by external events and that your peace comes from within. This kind of inner strength becomes magnetic and others begin to gravitate towards it, often seeking your presence in times of uncertainty or conflict. In situations where people might expect you to become defensive or angry, your calm acceptance shifts the power dynamic. Instead of feeding into their drama, you show that you are not at the mercy of their actions or emotions. You create a space where their negativity or agitation simply can't affect you. This not only protects your energy, but also subtly influences those around you. They start to understand that calmness is a more powerful response than escalating conflict. They see that emotional control and peace are far more impactful than reactionary behavior. Your ability to remain calm and composed can have a lasting impact on the relationships you have with others. Over time, people will begin to recognize that you are someone they can rely on to remain steady in the midst of chaos. This builds trust and respect. When people know that you will not get swept up in emotional turmoil, they begin to see you as a pillar of stability. They start to trust that, no matter what happens, you will approach the situation with clarity and calmness. This reliability is a rare quality, and it can foster deeper, more meaningful connections with those around you. The power of calm acceptance doesn't lie in suppressing emotions or avoiding conflict. Rather, it's about choosing how to engage with the situation, By opting for calmness, you create an environment of peace and clarity where reactions are not driven by impulsive emotions, but by thoughtful, intentional responses. This inner peace becomes a source of strength, and it has the power to influence not only your own life, but the lives of those around you. When you respond to challenging situations with acceptance, you are not just diffusing the tension in the immediate moment. You are also setting the stage for long-term growth, both personally and in your relationships with others. The act of accepting something or someone, especially when they are less than ideal or when the circumstances are unfavorable, has a profound ability to foster transformation. In many ways, acceptance becomes a tool for unlocking new levels of potential, understanding, and emotional maturity that might otherwise remain dormant. This approach opens the door to endless possibilities, both in how you see the world and in how others perceive you. The reason acceptance is such a powerful tool for growth is because it allows you to approach challenges without judgment, fear, or resistance. When we encounter a problem or a difficult person, our natural instinct might be to push against it, to resist what's happening, or to wish that it would go away. This resistance, however, only keeps us trapped in a cycle of frustration and stagnation. By accepting the reality of the situation without trying to change it or fight against it, you give yourself the freedom to move forward in a more constructive way. You are no longer bound by the emotional weight of resistance, which allows you to free up mental and emotional energy that can be redirected toward creative problem solving, learning, and adapting. One of the most profound aspects of acceptance is that it enables you to develop a deep understanding of yourself and your triggers. When you accept a situation without fighting it, you begin to see things more clearly. You can better understand why certain situations or behaviors from others upset you, and you can gain insight into what's truly important to you. Without the noise of resistance clouding your judgment, you begin to see the situation for what it really is, not as something to be avoided or resisted. This clarity is crucial because it empowers you to make more conscious, deliberate decisions about how to engage with the world around you. Acceptance also has a profound effect on your relationships with others. When you stop resisting or fighting against people's behaviors, attitudes, or imperfections, you create a space for connection and understanding. Instead of focusing on what's wrong with them or the situation, you focus on what can be learned from it. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you can begin to truly listen and empathize with others in a way that you might not have been able to before. This shift from judgment to understanding transforms your relationships because it creates an atmosphere where people feel seen, heard, and appreciated for who they truly are. People are more likely to open up to you, share their thoughts, and engage with you when they sense that you are not judging or rejecting them based on their behavior or circumstances. If you can make true eye contact, if you can sense respect, if you can read them and truly engage with them, this shift will put you. Additionally, acceptance helps you develop a higher level of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions, as well as the emotions of others. When you practice acceptance, you cultivate this ability in powerful ways. Instead of reacting to emotions with knee-jerk responses, you begin to process them more effectively. You understand that emotions, like everything else in life, are temporary and ever-changing. By accepting them as they are, you create a more stable emotional foundation within yourself. This foundation allows you to respond to situations from a place of calmness and clarity rather than from emotional reactivity. Over time, this enhances your overall emotional resilience, making you more adaptable and less affected by external circumstances. To the point that dependence is an emotional buzzard rather than a support system. Acceptance is also a tool for breaking free from limiting beliefs. Often we find ourselves stuck because of beliefs we formed about ourselves, others, or the world around us. These beliefs can act as barriers that keep us from achieving our full potential. When you accept something or someone as they are, you challenge those limiting beliefs. You stop seeing the world through the lens of fear or judgment, and instead start to see things from a broader, more expansive perspective. This new perspective opens the door for growth because it frees you from the constraints of past beliefs. By accepting what is, rather than fighting against it, you allow new opportunities to emerge. You stop waiting for perfection and start appreciating the present moment for what it is, which in turn creates space for even greater opportunities to unfold. In terms of personal growth, acceptance also allows for self-compassion. So often we hold ourselves to unrealistically high standards, constantly striving for improvement and growth at the expense of our own well-being. Acceptance allows you to take a step back and recognize that growth is a process, not a destination. You are not required to be perfect, and you don't have to have everything figured out. By accepting yourself, flaws and all, you create a nurturing environment within yourself where growth can naturally occur. This self-compassion reduces the pressure and stress that often accompany the pursuit of growth, allowing you to move forward with greater ease and confidence. Furthermore, acceptance has a way of strengthening your ability to manage uncertainty and the unknown. In life, we are often faced with situations that we cannot control or predict. These moments of uncertainty can feel overwhelming, especially when we are used to having control over every aspect of our lives. Acceptance teaches you that you don't need to have everything figured out, and you don't need to control everything in order to feel safe or secure. The act of accepting the unknown opens you up to new possibilities because you stop trying to hold on to the familiar. Instead, you learn to embrace the mystery and the potential that lies in the unexpected. This shift in mindset allows you to move forward with confidence, even when the path ahead isn't clear. Finally, the act of accepting situations, people, or challenges with an open mind creates an atmosphere of possibility. When you stop resisting, when you stop trying to force things into your preferred outcome, you allow room for something greater to emerge. Acceptance allows you to see opportunities where others see obstacles. It transforms challenges into stepping stones, and it turns every experience into a valuable lesson. This openness to possibility is a key driver of long-term growth. It helps you stay fluid and adaptable, always ready to meet life's challenges with grace and wisdom. In the end, acceptance isn't just about passivity or resignation. It's about choosing to rise above the limitations of resistance and judgment. It's about choosing to embrace life as it comes, without trying to force it into a mold. Through acceptance, you unlock new levels of self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and personal growth that allow you to navigate life's complexities with ease. Each day, without even recognizing it, you will allow your mind to roam. The power of acceptance is not simply about responding passively to the world around us, but rather about actively creating a sense of peace within. This peace isn't about avoiding confrontation or pretending that everything is perfect. Instead, it's about understanding that the world is full of unpredictability, and while we cannot control every situation, we can control how we approach it. When we approach life with acceptance, we shift from a mindset of survival to one of mastery, where we choose to navigate challenges with composure rather than resistance. In every interaction, there's an energy exchange. When we meet a situation with resistance, it fuels more resistance, often escalating the conflict. But when we approach it with acceptance, we are introducing a new energy into the equation, an energy that can diffuse tension, disarm hostility, and disorient those who expect us to react in a way they are accustomed to. Instead of reacting with anger or frustration, you approach the situation with calmness and an open mind. And in doing so, you confuse others because they cannot predict what your next move will be. The ability to confuse someone with your acceptance is powerful because it shifts the dynamic of the situation. You are no longer a participant in their game of conflict. Instead, you are standing above it, watching as things unfold without feeling the need to get involved emotionally. In many cases, the people around us are looking for a reaction. They might be waiting for us to engage emotionally, to show them that we are bothered, hurt, or upset. This is often the foundation of arguments, misunderstandings, and conflicts. We allow others to control our emotional state by reacting to their provocations. However, when you refuse to engage with this expected response, when you meet their energy with acceptance, you immediately take back control of the situation. That the moment you stop reacting in the expected manner, you begin to gain power over the interaction. This doesn't mean you've suppressed your emotions or ignored the situation. It means that you've chosen to engage with it in a way that maintains your emotional sovereignty. Instead of being controlled by external events, you are choosing how to respond in a way that aligns with your peace and well-being. This approach shifts your focus from what's happening to how you're choosing to respond to it. In doing so, you break free from the cycle of emotional triggers that so often dictate our reactions. It becomes less about the other person's behavior and more about your inner strength. Your ability to stand firm in your beliefs and your peace, regardless of external chaos. Sometimes the main thing that we all need is the ability to stand firm in your beliefs and your peace. This shift in focus allows you to create a buffer between your emotions and the events around you, which grants you the ability to step back, assess the situation, and make a more conscious decision about how you want to move forward. The result is often a more empowered, more intentional response that can transform the situation into something far less overwhelming. One of the most profound aspects of acceptance is its ability to generate inner peace. In the face of turmoil or stress, people often react with anxiety, fear, or anger. However, when you choose acceptance, you remove the emotional weight from the situation. You stop fighting against what is, and instead you find a way to navigate it with a sense of peace that does not rely on the external situation to change. The acceptance of what is doesn't mean you have to agree with it or approve of it. It means you acknowledge the reality of the moment without resistance. This act of surrendering to the moment creates a calm within that cannot be disturbed by external forces. When you cultivate this internal peace, it becomes a powerful shield against the emotional storms of life. This type of acceptance is not passive resignation, but an active decision to stay aligned with your sense of self and your inner calm no matter the circumstances. It's not about avoiding conflict, but about responding to it in a way that preserves your peace and emotional health. It's about choosing to respond rather than react. It's impossible not to choose to respond rather than react. Acceptance is a skill that requires practice But once it becomes ingrained in your way of thinking, you will notice a profound shift in your relationships, your work, and your general outlook on life. You begin to realize that situations, people, and challenges do not have the power to disrupt your peace unless you allow them to. Additionally, the practice of acceptance helps you understand the true nature of control. So often, we equate control with the ability to make things happen in our favor, to dictate the outcomes of every situation. But in truth, control is not about manipulating the external world to meet our desires. Control is about mastering our internal responses, about aligning our thoughts and emotions with our values and beliefs, even in the face of adversity. Acceptance gives us the ultimate control over ourselves. When you stop fighting with life, you create a space for peace, growth, and progress. This shift in perception allows you to embrace life as it unfolds, trusting that you will be able to navigate any challenges that arise with grace and strength. The beauty of acceptance also lies in its ability to transform the way we see others. When you accept people as they are, without trying to change them or mold them to fit your expectations, you create a space for authentic connection. People often feel constrained or judged by others' expectations, and this can lead to tension and conflict. However, when you meet others with acceptance, you allow them to be themselves, without judgment or expectation. This freedom fosters an environment where people feel more comfortable opening up, being vulnerable, and expressing themselves authentically. In this way, acceptance becomes a gift to both yourself and those around you, creating a space where mutual respect, understanding, and trust can flourish. Furthermore, acceptance has the remarkable ability to bring clarity in moments of uncertainty. In life, we often face situations that seem unclear or overwhelming, and our first instinct is to try to control or change them. However, acceptance teaches us that it's okay not to have all the answers, that it's okay to sit with uncertainty. This level of trust in the process of life allows us to move forward without the burden of fear or worry. When we release our need for control and accept the uncertainty, we open ourselves up to new possibilities that we might otherwise have overlooked. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. It means allowing things to unfold naturally, trusting that life will guide us to where we need to be. Acceptance isn't about passively waiting for things to improve or pretending that everything is okay. It's about recognizing that life is full of challenges and learning how to respond to them in a way that supports our mental, emotional, and spiritual growth. When you practice acceptance, you build a foundation of resilience and inner peace that allows you to face life's obstacles with strength and grace. End quote. This practice can lead to profound transformation, not only in how you approach challenges, but also in how you relate to others, ultimately leading to a life that is more fulfilling, more balanced, and more aligned with your true self. When we think about the impact of acceptance, it's crucial to understand its capacity to shift both the internal and external dynamics of our lives. Acceptance is not a mere passive act of resignation. It is, in fact, one of the most powerful tools we can wield in the face of adversity, complexity, and change. By embracing acceptance, we create a profound shift in how we relate to both ourselves and the world around us. It offers a different way to perceive situations, one that allows us to regain control over our emotional landscape. Rather than being a victim of circumstances, acceptance allows us to step into a position of mastery over ourselves and our reactions. This shift in perception creates opportunities for growth, transformation, and ultimately a sense of inner freedom that cannot be easily shaken. A significant aspect of acceptance is its ability to change our emotional responses to challenges. Life, by its nature, is full of unpredictability. And when faced with situations that are uncomfortable, difficult, or unsettling, it is easy to fall into a pattern of resistance. Our natural instinct may be to avoid, reject, or fight against what's happening around us, believing that doing so will somehow change the course of events. However, resistance only amplifies suffering, and this is where acceptance plays a transformative role. When we practice acceptance, we stop trying to control the uncontrollable and allow ourselves to flow with the current of life rather than fighting against it. This does not mean we are passive. Rather, we learn how to respond with calmness and clarity, understanding that the situation is what it is. And we can choose to move forward with peace in our hearts. This ability to transform our emotional response allows us to maintain a sense of equilibrium no matter the chaos happening around us. When we encounter obstacles, challenges, or conflict, acceptance enables us to remain centered, free from the emotional chaos that typically accompanies resistance. By choosing to accept the situation rather than fight against it, we preserve our mental energy. We no longer waste precious time and resources on feelings of anger, resentment, or frustration. Instead, we channel that energy into constructive actions that support our growth and well-being. This ability to disengage from the emotional reactions that often cloud our judgment is crucial for personal development and emotional resilience. We begin to realize that our power lies not in controlling the events around us, but in mastering how we respond to them. Another key aspect of acceptance is its power to foster deeper relationships. In many of our interactions, we are often confronted with others' behaviors, opinions, and beliefs that may differ from our own. The tendency in these situations is to either try to change the other person's viewpoint or to resist engaging with them at all. However, acceptance allows us to transcend these divisions. It gives us the ability to see people for who they truly are without the layers of judgment or expectation that often cloud our perception. By accepting others, we create space for them to be authentic and to express themselves fully. This opens the door for mutual respect, understanding, and compassion. When we are not trying to change someone or impose our beliefs on them, we create an environment where they can be themselves without fear of judgment. So today, we spend a bit more time without fear of judgment. This acceptance, in turn, nurtures the relationships we hold dear, fostering trust and emotional intimacy. When we accept others, we also embrace the reality that everyone is on their own unique journey. People may act in ways that we find confusing, difficult, or challenging, but these actions are often driven by their own life experiences, struggles, and personal growth processes. Acceptance allows us to understand that we cannot always control or predict how others will behave, nor can we dictate their emotional states or reactions. The power of acceptance is in recognizing that everyone is entitled to their experiences. And while we may not always agree with them, we can still choose to meet them with respect and understanding. This approach helps us navigate difficult relationships with grace. And even in the face of conflict, we are better equipped to handle disagreements in a way that respects the other person's perspective while maintaining our own sense of peace. Equally important is how acceptance impacts our relationship with ourselves. We often find ourselves trapped in a cycle of self-criticism, self-doubt, and perfectionism. We set high standards for ourselves, expecting flawless performance in every area of our lives. When we fall short of these expectations, we are quick to judge ourselves harshly. This creates an environment of inner turmoil, where we are constantly battling our own perceived inadequacies. Acceptance, however, allows us to break free from this cycle of self-judgment. When we accept ourselves, flaws, mistakes and all, we create space for growth and self-compassion. We recognize that we are human and that perfection is an unrealistic standard. Acceptance frees us from the prison of self-rejection, allowing us to show up authentically without fear of failure. When we accept ourselves as we are, we open the door to personal growth. Instead of beating ourselves up over our imperfections, we begin to view them as opportunities for learning, evolving, and becoming better versions of ourselves. Acceptance also has the incredible ability to foster an attitude of gratitude. When we accept the circumstances of our lives, we begin to see them through a lens of appreciation rather than resistance. We stop focusing on what's wrong and start to recognize what is right. Instead of complaining about what we lack, we begin to appreciate the abundance that already exists in our lives. Acceptance helps us cultivate a mindset of gratitude by shifting our focus from what's missing to what's present. This shift in perception has the power to transform our outlook on life. When we approach life with a sense of gratitude, we become more resilient, more optimistic, and more open to new possibilities. Acceptance allows us to embrace the beauty in the present moment without being overly concerned with the future or the past. Acceptance allows us to embrace the beauty in the present moment without being overly concerned with the future or the past. It invites us to be fully present in our experiences, enjoying the journey, rather than focusing solely on the destination. As we practice acceptance, we learn to navigate the complexities of life with greater ease and wisdom. We understand that life is a mixture of joy and pain, success and failure, love and loss. Acceptance teaches us that we cannot always control the circumstances we find ourselves in, but we can always choose how we respond. When we stop resisting, we allow ourselves to flow with the rhythms of life, trusting that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. This trust creates space for inner peace, emotional stability, and a sense of empowerment that cannot be easily disturbed. Acceptance doesn't mean we are passive in our lives. Rather, it allows us to become active participants in our own growth, well-being, and happiness. Through acceptance, we unlock a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us, and we begin to live with greater freedom, joy, and purpose.